All right, welcome to CapeCast. Today I'm going to be doing one of those rapid reviews. Solo, I know. You just got me today. I'm sorry. You've probably seen us do a few of these over on the CiNEMACHiNE channel, but today we're going to be talking about Sonic, and Sonic kind of fits into the CapeCast mold because we talk about video game stuff here and there. So Sonic the Hedgehog 2 just came out this past weekend, April 8th. It was directed by Jeff Fowler. And it is about when the manic Dr. Robotnik returns to Earth with a new ally, Knuckles the Echidna. Sonic and his new friend, Tails, is all that stands in their way. Now, I saw the original Sonic when it came out. I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it at home. Upon Al's recommendation, believe it or not, he was into it. I know that's a surprise. But he said it was good family fun, so we checked it out, enjoyed it, and the kids enjoyed it. And so we were out of town this weekend looking for something to do, and Sonic 2, the sequel, was coming out. So we all piled in the car, went to the theater, and watched Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I just overall thoughts on this flick. I thought it was okay. It's an all right sequel. If you have kids, this is definitely going to appeal to them more than it's going to appeal to you if you're listening or watching this and you're an adult. If you're a kid, then hey, you're going to love this more than likely. I enjoyed the first one. I thought that it worked both for adults and for kids. This one is kind of more in the kid realm, where the first one was kind of like a buddy cop type movie with Sonic and Tom. This one is a little bit more action adventure globetrotting, but it's got a little, I guess it's more broken down for kids. Like it's very it's kind of lots of body humor, not a lot of like, like Disney Pixar will tend to have like things for the adults to enjoy and also things for the kids. This one's kind of more for the kids. It feels even though it's like it's got a bigger budget, it feels a little bit more like Netflix original or what we used to be like straight to home video. So yeah, it's serviceable, but again, gonna kind of be more for the kids. Like I said, it's kind of a stock boilerplate action adventure movie. Which not to say that the first one wasn't kind of boilerplate either. It's a pretty simple story, but I think there was just more to enjoy for adults and kids. So this one just didn't have as much of that. But yeah, so I'm a little more forgiving for the first one because I did find things that I enjoyed with it. Specifically, Jim Carrey. It's kind of a return to form for Jim Carrey in that role, like more like crazy outlandish role for him. And he had a lot of good like back and forth with like between he and Sonic or he and his assistant. This time around, it feels like the script maybe wasn't there. And for the comedy side of things, they're kind of having to try and capture lightning in a bottle. And they just kind of fall short most of the time. I thought that as far as like the returning characters, I thought were, man, it's basically just Sonic as far as the story is concerned. The human characters kind of get sidelined, and they don't really know what to do with those characters. They kind of put them in a different location. And eventually it kind of ties back around, but not in a satisfying way. It's almost like they're like, we're introducing these new characters and we don't really know what to do with our old characters. So we're just going to try and give them something over here. It's like a little side quest type thing. Not even a quest, but like there's stuff going on in this location that eventually comes back around. But by the time you get there, you're like, this was kind of boring. But it's unfortunate because I did enjoy the human characters for the most part in the last movie, and now they're just kind of like, they're nothing characters. And I know that with them introducing two new characters specifically, and we'll get to those in a minute, there was probably like, okay, what kind of balancing act? A lot of, since it's such a big globe-trotting thing, and you've got these characters that can fly and run fast. Like, how do you have the human characters keep up in this story? So I get why they kind of push them to the side, but at the same time, I wish they could have kind of figured out a way to integrate them into the story where they were with Sonic specifically, because that was what was enjoyable about the first one, was kind of that dynamic between the two. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the humor is definitely more kid oriented this go around, even though there are a few nods like for the adults in the room. Like specifically, there's some like there's a John Ralphio Parks and Rec little joke in there that if you're a Parks and Rec fan, then you'll probably get that. For Ryan, there's a Limp Bizkit reference, although it's 2022. I don't understand why we keep like using Limp Bizkit as a punching bag. So just let Fred live his life. Let Ryan live his life, for that matter. Come on, I stand with those guys. So let's see. The length of the movie, it's 2 hours long. It feels long. Like by the time it got to the third act, I thought it was over. Like there's a set piece in the third act that I thought was going to be the end, and then there's another third act type set piece that they introduce. Yeah, it feels a little lengthy. Could have been trimmed down a little bit, but it doesn't really ever like stop with the action. So I guess you're at least entertained throughout the length, but you do kind of feel like it's kind of wrapping up and then it keeps going. So there's that. But as far as, like I said, returning characters, Ben Schwartz still great as Sonic, Jim Carrey still great as Robotnik. And like I said earlier, it does, like the things that worked about them in the first one, I feel like they're definitely committed, but I feel like there's too much heavy lifting on their end. They're having to do that. I don't know if it's just the script was not quite there, because they did kind of like this movie. The first one came out, I believe it came out like right before COVID hit, and so it was like the last theatrical. I believe it made the most money out of that year, because I think it came out in like January, February. And so it was the first like big tentpole release, and then no tentpole releases for a while. So I think they fast tracked this sequel, and I think you can kind of tell that that's the case. But yeah, like I said, they're kind of having to do a lot of heavy lifting on their end, and it just never quite it doesn't quite get there in terms of kind of like capturing that light in the bottle that was in the first one. And as far as like Jim Carrey is concerned, I know he's been in the press saying that he's kind of possibly retiring. I hope that that's not the case, because I don't really want this to be his last his bow, so to speak. It's not a performance that I would say would be a good one to go out on. Not that it's bad, it's just this one especially. Maybe the first one would be a better one, but not even that really. I would like to see kind of a better send off for him. Something with a better script, better direction, better character that he can kind of sink his teeth into. And as far as Robotnik, I was really they kind of teased it at one point that he might have the like big ballooned body like he does in the video games, but they didn't commit to it. And I think he's mentioned in the press that he's kind of shot to try and do that version, but was kind of turned down. I don't know if it was a studio thing or whatever it was, but it would have been cool to have a more accurate portrayal than what was on screen, but still fun. Got the big mustache, got the goggles, whatever. Bald head. I'm a fan of bald-headed people. So yeah, I stand with Dr. Robotnik on this one. Yeah, and then I guess new characters, which we already talked about, the soundlide characters of the old movie, so I don't have to go into that now at this point. But new characters, the big two, I guess, really the only two for the most part, are the video game characters they introduced, which is Knuckles and Tails. Knuckles being voiced by Idris Alba, and Tails by Colleen O'Shaughnessy, I think. And both are solid in these roles. Colleen is not a stranger to voice acting. She voiced Tails in many previous iterations of the Sonic games, and she kind of fits right in as far as Tails is concerned. She pulls that off. Sounds like Tails because she is Tails. She's voiced him before. I think Tails is a boy. And then Idris Alba. It's interesting that they did like stunt casting, so to speak, for Knuckles, because they didn't do it for Tails. Idris Alba is a name if there are names in Hollywood, so they definitely went that route in terms of stunt casting. But it's one of those things where I don't know if I don't. I just it's not bad or good either way. It's just interesting that they did one, not the other. But I mean, I think he's solid for Knuckles. He's very deadpan, it's curmudgeon-y, kind of, just like a very grumpy Knuckles. He's got this history with Sonic that I won't get into, but they're he's very antagonistic working with Robotnik, and that's how he's introduced to the story. You can tell that from the trailers. And can they put their differences aside to kind of combat Dr. Robotnik at the end? I guess you'll have to watch the movie to see that for yourself. Not going to spoil it here. It's all spoiler free. But then, yeah, conclusion overall, if you have kids, they'll probably eat this up. If you don't have kids, but you enjoyed the first one, your mileage may vary here. I don't know. Maybe unless you're just wanting something to do for the weekend, go and check it out. If not, hold off till it's on home release. I'm sure it's Paramount, so it'll probably be on Paramount Plus soon. 45 days, I imagine. It's probably their window. But yeah, it's not the worst way to spend 2 hours, but I wouldn't say it's like a must-see theatrical, unless you have kids. If you have kids, I think they'll dig it. Let's see what else. Yeah, so I think that's it. I think that's all I got. I appreciate you tuning in. If you didn't like Sonic the first one, I don't know what you're doing here. Maybe go watch one of our Zack Snyder's Justice League episodes where we break down all that stuff. There's many of those to look at. Or if that's not your jam, go watch Al put together a pie puzzle. We have that on the channel as well. So, yeah, go do that, you weirdos.